I have always thought the actions of men the best interpreters of their thoughts. John Locke. Mm-hmm. If you don't know somebody's intent, then how are they going to act? Or how are they going to think? By either how they act or how they think. So, interpreting that as such, that makes sense. That's one of those things where obviously intent always doesn't match thought. That happens in various circumstances, but it's plainly stated that the actions of people are always going to interpret their thoughts, good or bad, wise, unwise, thought out and well planned, or impulsive and unplanned. So there's correlations there. There's obviously good and bad to those things too. But that's breaking it down even more, and that's breaking it down into categories that are, well, a little bit more philosophical of thought processes and more geared towards somebody like a founding father or a philosopher or somebody who is a bit deeper of a thinker than what exactly those thoughts are. Now, John Locke himself, like I mentioned, was a founding father and definitely important to what he is probably speaking about. And I'm going to guess it's more geared towards, well, governance. And with that, with the philosophy of it being being that you can interpret the actions of the political class by the way they think, and the way they think is more geared towards the legislative branch, and their thoughts are in the bills that they pass. Now, the president obviously executes them, being part of the executive branch, and then the law is reviewed, precedents are set, and things are coordinated according to that in the judicial branch. Now, with that, you have the interpretation of thought all across the board on that. And like I said, philosophically, it could definitely be broken down into more detail when it comes to that. Now, these interpretation of thoughts are more geared towards the actions, and that necessarily doesn't have to be the actions of of men in power. It can be actions of everyday citizens too, which is the eternal ethos, or the eternal ethos. Oh my gosh, the ethos for the government, for ours in particular, because of the foundations that we hold so near and dear, especially those values that should be conserved. Anyway, those actions are predicated on those thoughts to make a more cogent and coherent lineage to what those thoughts are supposed to be. And if they don't, then that is why we have the executive, legislative, and judicial branches to balance those things out, aka checks and balances, to best interpret those thoughts for those actions to become for the people and reciprocated by the people. Now, there are obvious circumstances today that it has become more polarized than what it used to be, which is also a shame. And it's one of those things where it shouldn't have evolved that way, but it did, unfortunately. However, there are certain things which history reverberates and history proves that it can come back to those thoughts being interpreted by the actions of men correctly.